Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. If I pause for a moment during the presentation, it's because I'm probably letting someone who would like to join our meeting into the room. My name is Greg Gamble, and I'm a landscape architect and land planner, also a resident of Franklin. And this Zoom meeting that we're doing tonight is an approved method by the City of Franklin for presentations, neighborhood meetings during this time of social distancing. Tonight, joining us on the phone call in the video is Alderman McClendon, Alderman Ann Peterson, and Alderman Margaret Martin. Thank you all so much for joining us. If I did not see another alderman that's joined us, please let me know. This is a recorded meeting. After the presentation, this meeting will be sent to the City of Franklin and will be posted on their website. And you should be able to find it under a link for neighborhood meetings. So if there are others that you know are not on the call but would like to see the presentation, you can direct them to that link. You do not have to turn your video on. If you want to turn your video off, that's perfectly fine with me. There are 3 ways to communicate during this phone call or this presentation. You'll see on the bottom right corner of your screen the ability to either raise your hand or the ability to chat. Chat is a lot better for me. I have the chat screen pulled up, and if you want to send a note to the, if you want to send a question to the group during the presentation, I'm happy to address it at the end. You can also hold your space bar down to speak. So if you feel more comfortable asking your question verbally, you can certainly do that by holding down your space bar. To give you just a little bit of a frame of reference, we have about 100 people on the presentation so far. So we would like to keep it orderly and keep it respectful as best we can. So please be courteous to all of your neighbors as well. This is a development proposal by Miles River Properties, LLC, represented by Kevin Estes. Kevin's office is in Berry Hill and here in Middle Tennessee. My office is in Franklin. The property that we are looking at, the property that we're studying, is located just off Hillsborough Road and has a portion of the Mack Hatcher extension along its southern boundary here. Miles River Partners also has under contract 19 acres on the east side of Hillsborough Road. This is the existing conditions of the site. It is bound by the Harpeth River along the north, western, and southerly edges of the property. There is floodplain on the property, and I'll go into that in more detail. The property has been used for over 40 years for equestrian riding, for raising bulls, and really has been agricultural use. In the recent adoption of the City of Franklin zoning ordinance, Mack Hatcher is classified as a scenic corridor, and 150-foot landscape buffers are to be set aside in preservation or in landscape on both sides of Mack Hatcher. So the very first thing that we did as planners and as engineers is hire Bars Design Solutions, who is an expert in floodplain, working with FEMA, and designing on sites that have floodplain. And they have identified what is called an ineffective flow area, and that becomes our development zone on the property. In the city of Franklin, there's specific design criteria that must be followed when developing properties that are in floodplain. First of all, the final grading must provide 150% of the existing floodplain storage. So we're not just replacing back one-to-one the floodplain volume and storage that's on this property. We're going above that and providing a total of 150%. All residential lots must be outside of the floodplain. So if we're creating a new single-family detached lot that used to be in the floodplain, that property must be filled and raised to a point where it is no longer in the floodplain. All residential homes must be constructed 3 feet above the floodplain. So that first living level has to be 3 feet above the floodplain line. What you're looking at here represents 202.9 acres. There are currently 167.8 acres of floodplain on the property, and we're proposing to remove 54.5 acres with our master plan. This means that the total development area would be 40% of the site, 83.3 acres, and we would leave 119.6 acres in open space. Any floodplain alteration and stormwater management must be reviewed and approved by not only the city of Franklin, but also the state of Tennessee and FEMA before we begin grading. This is something that's taken very seriously, not only by the regulatory agencies, but also my client and all the engineers that are involved in the design. The existing land use plan policy for the property consists of both conservation and conservation subdivision. And we are proposing an amendment to the conservation subdivision policy. And I'll walk you through that with our master plan. Our master plan is proposed to be a mixed neighborhood with a wide range and a diversity of home types. The master plan does echo the overall arching guiding principles of Envision Franklin, but with the preservation of the natural beauty of the property, the environmental enhancement, and enhancing the water quality currently going into the Harpeth River from this property, and the creation of a neighborhood that is not only vibrant, but exceptional. We are proposing to integrate Christ Community Church into the neighborhood. They currently have a large parking lot area that is here in front alongside Hillsborough Road. And we're proposing to construct a new parking area for them behind the church. So they will have the same number of parking spaces that they have currently. We're proposing to move that to the back. We are proposing a mix of housing types, including single-family detached homes, townhomes, for-sale condominiums, for-rent apartments, and assisted living and senior living, with a wide range of purchase options. Much of the open space area will be made accessible to all residents in the city of Franklin with public access easements. We are interested in open space areas and parks that have hiking trails, walking trails, canoe launch access to the Harpeth River, ball fields for pickup practice games. These would not be lit ball fields with big lights, stadium lights at night. They would be meant really for just pickup or practice. We're also proposing just south of McHatcher to transform this area into a fishing lake with a fishing pier, natural wetland areas, and an educational area for kind of understanding the ecosystem and the ecology of the Harpeth River. We're proposing 3 access points onto Hillsborough Road. To the north would be an emergency access. We are proposing an access that aligns with Monticello Road, and an access just to the south of that. The City of Franklin Engineering and Planning Department have also asked us to consider a location for a future access that would one day be a bridge to cross over the Harpeth River as a secondary local road. We're in the process of evaluating the off-site road improvements and the traffic impacts. That's not complete yet. Our traffic engineer is in the process of evaluating those impacts. What we are studying are the sequencing of potentially 4 traffic signals along Hillsborough Road. The one at Mac Hatchard that's existing now. Also existing now is a traffic signal that accesses the Williamson County Rec facility. We're talking about adding a new traffic signal at Monticello Road. And someday in the future, there may be a need for a traffic signal at Poteet Place. And we're going to go ahead and look and see what the timing of those lights would be if they were all installed and sequenced together. Looking closer at our master plan and the diversity of home types. Here up front, closer to Hillsborough Road, we're proposing a mixed use area of the plan where these 4 buildings would potentially have office, restaurants, retail, live work on the ground floor, and would have residential apartments above them. The brown colored blocks that you're seeing here represent the location of our for sale condominiums and our townhomes, all designed with small blocks focused around open space areas where we would have a swimming pool, recreation club facility, fitness club, gathering spaces for residents, really to create special moments within the interior streets of the neighborhood, giving lots of additional open space and parks within the community. The pink, lighter color to the back would be single family detached homes. And the gray building located here just behind the church is proposed for assisted living or senior living. Miles River Properties is committed to setting aside up to 5% of the homes within this proposed neighborhood to be designated for affordable housing. And what does affordable housing mean? Well, affordable housing is defined as a home that could be purchased and afforded by someone who qualifies at 80% of the median income. Our median income for the Nashville MSA is $85,000 for a family of 4. So affordable means that a family of 4 earning $68,000 a year would be able to afford a home here. Our homes will range in price from $275,000 to $1.2 million. The City of Franklin over the past few years has done a number of surveys of Franklin residents, and the desire and the request to have some affordable housing integrated into new neighborhoods has been at the top of the list. Affordable housing does not mean that they will be built with less quality. They will be built with the same high quality and design standards and expectation as all of the other homes that are within the community. This is an illustration of the access directly across from Monticello Road. This represents the 3-story mixed-use building that we're proposing on the corner. This is an illustration of a condominium building. We're currently talking with the developer, or the builder, excuse me, who is currently building similar condominiums at Berry Farms and West Haven. And so bringing that same high level of design and quality to this area is what we have in mind. This is an illustration of the Central Park and townhomes with generous front porches and inviting exteriors. This would then be one of our pocket parks within the neighborhood that would have single-family detached homes along the outside edges, sidewalks, and open space for frisbee or for throwing ball. This master plan also gives us the opportunity to make meaningful improvements along the Harpeth River. Again, today there are a lot of areas that are open dirt areas that create runoff into the Harpeth River, or there are areas where there are high nutrient runoff from livestock. We're going to be enhancing the watercourse along the river by providing rain gardens and natural systems, natural process to clean that water before it enters into the Harpeth River. There's also opportunities for reforestation, creation of the new park, and education opportunities that would be accessible and open to the public. This is an illustration of the new fishing lake and fishing piers. Again, having some areas integrated into the community where we could have some practice facilities. So our proposal is to introduce 2 additional policies on the property. At the back, we're keeping all of the conservation. We're keeping the conservation policy and the conservation subdivision policy. We are introducing a multifamily residential policy directly behind the church for the proposed for sale condominiums and assisted living. And then the purple represents a neighborhood mixed use that would include some commercial down on the ground floor, some office opportunities, and the residential on the floors upstairs above. We've had a few questions about our development timeline. We're anticipating a start date potentially in 2021 with construction of approximately 75 homes per year in 10 phases to complete the construction in 2031. So about 11 years from today. I have contacted both Williamson County Schools and Franklin Special School District. These new residents would be today zoned for Johnson Elementary School, Freedom Intermediate, Freedom Middle School, and Franklin High School. All of these schools are currently under capacity, under their maximum capacity. There's a plan by Williamson County Schools to have a West Haven High School open by 2024. And the projected student population based upon Williamson County Schools' current trends across Franklin is that we would generate 84 students who are kindergarten through 8th grade and 97 students who would be 9th grade to 12th grade in high school. So the city of Franklin has set up several programs that require additional fees to be paid by the developer for new development in Franklin. One of those is a parkland impact fee. The projected parkland impact fee for this development would be $3.2 million. If we put public access easements over this open space area, this money, or 75% of the money, can be reinvested on the property as an amenity for the use by all residents in the city of Franklin. We are proposing several parking areas. One would be located generally in this area here. One would be generally located in this area here that would allow residents in Franklin to be able to park and access these open space areas. We are proposing to turn this area here, the 19 acres that are on the east side of Hillsborough Road, into a public park. We're not proposing parking associated with that, but we are proposing pedestrian connections to trails within this area or walking paths within this area. So we see this more as a passive park than the active parks that we're showing in the rest of the plan. There's also the Williamson County School impact fee, which is estimated at about $2.3 million. Roadway impact fees of $4.5 million. If there are road improvements required to the major arterial roadways, that money could be reinvested in this area. There's also the facilities tax and the Williamson County privilege tax totaling about $14.8 million in fees generated by what we're proposing. Our next steps include the Planning Commission meeting on June the 25th, so about a month and a half. We have a development plan. Next steps would be to have a new neighborhood meeting to discuss this plan in more detail in July. We would then proceed to the August Planning Commission meeting and to the board, mayor, and alderman meetings September, October, November, and December. With that, I'm going to flip back up to our master plan. And I see that several people have posted questions already, so I'm just going to kind of work through them one at a time. Kevin Estes is on the line is on the meeting with us as well, and if there are questions he needs to answer, he's available. Thank you all for your patience. I appreciate it. So the first question we had relative to schools, how is Franklin High School supposed to handle this many homes, a West Haven 2.0, if you will? And yes, the Williamson County is aware of the growth, and they are planning a new high school at West Haven. Currently, Franklin High School is at about 80% capacity. The next question, is there a requirement to have an access point at Monticello Road? Is there an option to eliminate that access to mitigate traffic into Monticello, which is the main point of concern from the neighborhood? Moving the light away from Monticello Road is an immediate solution to avoid traffic cutting through Monticello neighborhood. We're going to continue to work very closely with Monticello neighborhood. The city of Franklin does have some traffic calming programs that they encourage us to implement when needed. And the best location, according to our traffic engineer who's evaluating this, is alignment of that intersection with Monticello with the installation of a traffic signal. Next question, when was the traffic study initiated? With the shelter in place last 2 months, current traffic is not in any way indicative of normal traffic flow in this area. School has not been in session since March the 6th. People are working from home rather than commuting to offices, and stores, restaurants have basically been closed. How accurate can the study be given these these realities? There was a traffic evaluation done for Matt Hatcher with its construction planning, and that evaluation of the traffic was done during school when restaurants were open. We are reviewing that data to see if it's something that is available for us to use. There may be some other data that's available, and we're leaving that up to the engineering professionals and the traffic engineers to evaluate whether that information is available and gives them the information that they need to do their analysis and their study. Will you achieve leadership in energy and environmental design building certification? It would be good for the community if it was designed to be built using strategies arrived at improving performance across the matrix that matter most: energy saving, energy efficiency, CO2 emissions reduction, improved indoor environmental quality, and stewardship of resources and sensitivity to their impacts. I think it's a great point. I think it's worth looking into for sure. I'm not sure that we'll proceed will pursue a certification, but you bring up a lot of good points about kind of raising the bar that the city of Franklin certainly incorporates into their stormwater management and into our site planning. So I think this certainly deserves looking into and deserves discussing. Laid the floodplain over the master plan. I had that. This is the, I may not have pointed that out when I pulled that slide up. This blue line here is the new floodplain that we're proposing after the grading is completed. As a Franklin High School graduate, I can tell you that maximum capacity should not be met. Classrooms with 30+ kids, teachers cannot do their jobs properly, students cannot learn at the levels Williamson County schools promise because of the lack of hands-on teaching, teacher-to-student ratio. I'll have to leave that in the hands of the Williamson County schools. I know that they are planning for new growth, and know that the construction of the West Haven High School will significantly impact this. Please repeat the cost range of the homes. Sure. The homes will range in cost from $275,000 to $1.2 million would be the upper range. Who pays the impact fees? The developer and or the home builders would pay impact fees. How many apartments, affordable houses, single family homes, and how many townhomes? We're still evaluating that. We are currently showing about 200 single family detached homes. We're showing approximately 150 townhomes, and showing approximately 180 multifamily over the mixed use buildings. The difference then, about 250 would be the condominiums for sale, the assisted living facility, and the senior living. By raising the land levels, you have to force the water somewhere else. Where is it going? In these open space areas, we're going to be providing 150% of the existing volume that's available on the property today for floodplain storage. So that water would be addressed here on site.
Hey, Greg.
Yes, sir.
I see, I'm following this chat and I see a lot of floodplain questions. Do you mind if I just kind of jump in and talk floodplain for a minute?
Sure.
So, I'm Kevin Estes, I'm representative for this development. We have hired Adrian Ward of Barge Design Solutions. He has done many flood studies for the city of Franklin, as well as FEMA and various other agencies. We went with the most experienced person we could find because there need to be a lot of flood questions out here. This property's been owned by the Andertons for 70 years plus, I believe. And Robin Anderton, who is the overseer of the property at the moment, of the Anderton family, has also lived out here and kept track of the floods as they've happened over the years. We have two types of opportunities going. We have a floodway, which basically designates moving water, and we have a floodplain, which designates standing water. We are not altering the floodway around the outer edge of the property at all. And by the increase in volume, we are actually dropping the floodplain elevations minorly by tenths around the property. The flood study is preliminarily done. Barge and the city are meeting and they scoped it first. They've been meeting with the city. It will be submitted to the city for review, and when the city signs off, it will go to FEMA. There's everything that happens in this property is within what, as Greg says, the ineffective flow area. That line is not established by me or the city, it's established by FEMA. And basically the ineffective flow line is a line around the river here where if you stay within those lines, you won't impact anything to the river. So under FEMA's models, if you start out and did nothing and you stay within an effective flow area, you would not impact the river. However, as Greg has said, Franklin's rules are for every foot of floodplain you fill, you've got to provide 1.5 feet or 1.5 times of that volume. We'll be disturbing approximately 600,000 cubic feet of flood storage and be providing about 1 million cubic feet of flood storage. So I've seen a lot of questions about floodplain and what's going to happen to the water and all. And since the property enters on one end of the property and leaves on the other, we were really fortunate for that we can improve the situation without impacting the floodplain elevations or the floodway whatsoever around the river.
Thanks, Kevin. We talked a little bit about West Haven High School, but there's a question here. How does the building of West Haven High School help alleviate the influx of students in Franklin High School? When a new high school is built, they'll rezone for an area more centrally located to that particular school. So it will have an effect on Franklin High School as well. When the people of Franklin get to vote, the Franklin Planning Commission and the second board and mayor and alderman meetings are public hearings for the amendment that we're asking for. The Planning Commission meeting would be in June 25th, I believe. So I'm sure they'll welcome your input and your comments. Will all the traffic flow into Hillsborough Road? Yes, the proposed access is to Hillsborough Road. What will be the total amount of residents at 100% occupancy? I guess that's kind of hard to predict. If there's 2.5 per house, that would be approximately 1,600, 1,700. When the people of Franklin asked about this plan, when were we supposed to find out about how our taxpayer money and our daily lives would be affected? I'm not sure I have an answer to that question. I'm sorry, Haley. Yes, so we're proposing approximately 750 homes on the 85 acres of development area. How does artificially elevating land that's naturally a flood zone end up playing out? Well, we're actually not we're physically adding dirt to the area that's currently in the floodplain and removing that dirt from area that would create more volume for floodplain storage. Will the green space what happens to this plan if Christ Church doesn't approve the land sale? We're, I believe, working in collaboration with the church. Will the green space in the new neighborhood be preserved for the life of the development, or will there be a potential for redevelopment at a later date? So the type of zoning that we will eventually be asking for is a planned development. The plan would be approved at the same time the property is zoned. That plan can only be approved or modified with an approval by the board, mayor, and alderman. It is, this open space area will be platted as open space, and it will have a public easement on top of it. So the intent is that it will be placed in preservation in perpetuity, and will be platted and documented in that way. Where's the water going to move to and how? Kevin talked a little bit about the floodplain area. There are high points on the property right now that will be lowered and will create more volume for the floodplain as it passes along through the river. I think we explained that. If not, we can come back to the floodplain. What are you going to do to protect Monticello neighborhood from having cut through traffic? Again, we're going to continue to talk to the Monticello HOA and involve the city of Franklin in potential traffic calming programs if there are issues with cut through traffic. Is there a way to make the main entrance into the new neighborhood cut off of Mac Hatcher? That would make it so take so much traffic off Hillsborough Road. Mac Hatcher is a limited access highway. There are planned connections, but this portion of Mac Hatcher here that is traversing the southern side of the site is about 30 to 35 feet up in the air as it passes across this portion of the property. So it's really just a long bridge. So there would be no physical way to connect to Mac Hatcher from this property. The cut and fill analysis, how is it determined? It's modeled through very sophisticated FEMA programs. Kevin, do you want to speak a little bit to how it's modeled, how it's determined?
This model is what they call a HEC-RAS model. It's the latest modeling program that FEMA uses. It's much more integrated into incorporating aerial or LiDAR topography, which is much more accurate than the way they used to do it when they would go out and cut cross sections. And beyond a whole lot of that, and then the cut fill analysis is done through cross sections. I mean, every 25 feet, cross sections cut through the community. Anything below the floodplain is counted. And once again, I've seen a lot of questions about if you raise the property, surely you're going to push water on somebody else. And this is, I understand, and I'm very patient with floodplain because it's detailed, but floodplain, not floodway. Floodplain is volume based, where floodway is velocity based. So the floodway is when we're having floods and you're just seeing water run. And I live right by Radnor Lake, and I have a creek run beside me that rises very quick. When those creeks rise real quick and that water is running, a lot of times that's kind of a good indication of where a floodway is. A floodplain would be my yard. A floodplain is where in a flood, the water kind of stops running and it sits and it's stored. So here, once again, if we're removing 690,000, for round numbers, let's say that this property holds 10 million cubic yards of floodplain. And we're gonna remove 690,000 for this center section that's in and out of the floodplain. And so the property starts out, well, we can never remove it before we replace it. But in the end, we'll leave this property with 10,500,000 yards of floodplain. There will be more floodplain volume on this property when we're done than exists today. And by us providing so much additional storage, there actually will be room for the floodway to spread out a little bit on this property, also allowing for some of that water to slow down just a tad bit to help scouring of banks, causing damage and other opportunities. So nothing will be pushed. Floodplain can go from being 1 inch in deep down to, typically 15, 16 foot deep. So that's where the ineffective flow area is so important, because it normally deals with a shallower floodplain where you can have a very large area but doesn't contain much floodplain volume, even if it's all in the floodplain. So we've tried to come here in ways that will cause no damage and provide improvement into this area slightly.
We have another question here. What are the easements for Mac Hatcher extension for the current plan? I assume these have been taken into account with this change as the parkway opens up to more volume. The right-of-way for Mac Hatcher has been purchased by the state of Tennessee across this property. You can see on the north and the south side of Mac Hatcher, we're leaving 150 foot for that scenic corridor preservation along Mac Hatcher extension. So not aware of other Mac Hatcher easements.
There aren't the state 10 acres.
Mm-hmm. What thought has gone into the traffic impact on the commute to and from Franklin High School? All of that is being evaluated by our traffic engineer now. Will there be businesses similar to West Haven, such as a grocery store, restaurants, and other small shops? We do see opportunities for small shops. We see opportunities for office and maybe live-work office. We definitely see opportunities for restaurants, probably not a grocery store. That has not been considered at this point. Is there a way to make the main entrance a Brown off Mac Hatcher? We talked about that. We talked about when there are public meetings. So Planning Commission and Board, Mayor, and Alderman both have public input. There's a $10,000 impact per home. I believe that's Melissa's referring to Williamson County school impact fee. And if you're outside of the Franklin Special School District, it is approximately $10,000. If you're inside the Franklin Special School District, it's not quite that much. We are modeling a lot of what we're planning and what we're designing based around master plans of West Haven and Berry Farms and those two neighborhoods.
So someone doesn't run a
floodplain question.
I think there's 180 apartments being planned. None of the condos are rentable. They're all for sale.
Right.
I've seen that question pop up 2 or 3 times, so I just thought I'd answer that. Go ahead.
Sure. I'm a landscape architect and land planner. Someone's asking what my role is. Many of these questions may not apply to you. So who do we make contact about other issues? I'm happy to field many of these questions. Who's the developer and who are the builders? The developer is Miles River Properties, and the builders are still being considered. Future maintenance of the property, who ensures that it doesn't turn up into an eyesore. This community will have an HOA, and the HOA will manage the open space areas. with the Envision new COVID-19 smaller class sizes, your current number maximum is no longer correct. I just got them from Williamson County Schools and Franklin Special School District today. So I have to go with the best information that I have. It's actually a better planning strategy to concentrate developments at the core city center. This is within approximately within the kind of the core of Franklin. With all of our roads severely congested, do Franklin residents not have a say in the constant development and influx of people brought in? What about traffic? Yes, we do have to mitigate traffic if we're creating issues, and that traffic study is underway now. How does this affect the farmland around where what will be stored? Dwayne, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question there. Fundamentally, it is possible to develop this property according to the current Envision Franklin zoning of conservation subdivision without needing any amendments. I suppose it is possible. We're looking at this as an opportunity to bring a neighborhood with a real true mixed diversity of housing types, to bring opportunities for affordable housing, and that development proposal, that approach does not quite fit into the box of conservation subdivision. As far as giving the people of Franklin the opportunity to give consent or an opinion, there are public meetings in the future, specifically at the Planning Commission. We talked about the number of homes provided. What are we worried about? How will landscaping and automobile affected water runoff into the river be handled? We'll be handling that through water quality treatment, such as rain gardens, bioretention areas, allowing the natural landscape and the natural process of filtering that stormwater before it enters into the river. Do we have any idea of the type of retail business? We do not at this time. We just know that we want it to be a real amenity, not only for this proposed neighborhood, but really for the community as a whole. The numbers for the projected students was provided to me by Williamson County Schools and verified by Franklin Special School District. That is based upon the number of homes that have been provided. Will sound barriers be established for the development homes along Mac Hatcher? We're not planning sound barriers, no. What would the fill consist of to create the building area? We'll have a geotechnical engineer certify that the fill material is appropriate for fill. And that those geotechnical reports are also submitted to the City of Franklin Engineering Department for their review and confirmation. What I meant was forcing higher elevation into a place that's naturally a flood zone, surely that has some kind of impact. It would have impact if we did not provide 150% volume capacity after the grading is completed. So that's an important aspect to keep in mind. Does the preservation in perpetuity also apply to Monticello Section 1? Yes, it would. and the pond handle tens of millions of gallons of water. It will be sized appropriately based upon the hydraulic analysis that Kevin Estes mentioned. How early in 2021 do you think you could start? I'm not sure. It could be spring
2021, Greg?
2021.
Yeah, it can be late fall at earliest.
Can we address the question regarding pure pure apartment units and how many? We're looking at 180, and they would be in the mixed-use buildings that would have office, retail, restaurants down on the ground floor. Can you readdress the question as it pertains to the Christ community portion of land sale? It's my understanding that the sale must be voted on and passed by the congregation. Can you please answer directly the question previously asked? What happens if Christ does, sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
We have a letter of intent with the Christ Community Church. They are presenting to their congregation. It was all supposed to be done before this, but with COVID and the church not meeting, we in the church have agreed to delay that till later, and the church is moving forward with it.
The community has not had to deal with noise or light pollution issues before. How will you handle this concern, other than a noise or light ordinance? What noise and light pollution controls can be put into place to reduce these levels at night during construction? The main concern will be the noise generated from large building equipment in this area and how it affects surrounding residential communities. We'll continue to talk through that. Clearly, the city of Franklin has a noise ordinance that has to be followed. I know you mentioned here other than a noise or light ordinance, but I'm not aware of any other community in Franklin that would have any other restrictions other than the current ordinance that's in place. As far as lights, there are certainly full cutoff lights that limit and reduce light pollution that can be explored. The new bridge of Mac Hatcher was engineered, and an exit to and from this development can be engineered to assist in traffic management. There cannot be any traffic going through Monticello to avoid the light at Mac Hatcher. Again, we'll continue to work with Monticello and study with our traffic engineers and the traffic patterns, but we will not have a connection to Mac Hatcher Parkway from this neighborhood. What will be done with the land on the far north end across Hillsborough Road in front of Monticello? So I believe that you're referring to the property just north of the 19 acres that Miles River Properties has under contract. That property is under contract by another entity at this time and not available to be purchased at this moment. There needs to be a person from the City of Franklin Traffic Management on this call. This is not our only neighborhood meeting. We will have additional neighborhood meetings, and we will have more information as it relates to traffic management. And I will absolutely make sure that you are all each included on those discussions when that information is available. We will be sending the notice in the mail the same way we announced this meeting tonight. Have you thought about how changing the floodplain of floodways is going to affect Rebel Meadows? Yes, we have to take all existing communities into consideration as we're doing our flood study and hydrological modeling. You've not answered how many of the low price affordable homes will be built. Up to 5% is our proposal. That's approximately 38 homes. Dory, if I missed a question of yours, would you mind reposting it? I thought I covered it.
Um,
Tell
hey,
us
Greg,
about the, go ahead.
I think there's a tad bit confusion. Someone's asking how many $68,000 houses are going to be built. I think
Oh, no. That's just the income level. No, the homes won't be 68,000. That's just the income level that would be able to purchase. Sorry. Our affordable homes would really start at about 275,000. Is that clear?
yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I'm just reading ahead, seeing if there are questions I have not addressed yet. Are you planning on consuming more land further down New Mac Hatcher Extension? What you've seen tonight is our proposed plan.
Hey, Greg, real quick, can I talk about the traffic study? Just
Sure.
so we retain a private traffic engineer. That traffic engineer meets with the city. The city does a scoping session, which that has occurred. Then our engineer prepares the study, and then the city takes that study and sends it to one of the city's hired consultants. And so the city's hired consultant reviews that plan and agrees, disagrees, or makes edits, and then the city reviews it independently also. So two other people not associated with the developer will be reviewing that plan and determine if that plan was done correctly. If not, they will return it for additional study, or if it was met all the questions they asked and if the city was satisfied or not. Is that correct, Greg?
Yes. Yeah. Once the road improvements are determined, you have to do them. The developer has to complete them. There's no negotiations. How will this development benefit the current Franklin community in this area? Franklin is continuing to grow. Our businesses are continuing to see job growth in the city of Franklin. And we're planning neighborhoods in Franklin so that those who are being hired aren't continuing to have to move out to Spring Hill and Columbia and further impact I-65. So having local neighborhoods is really important to the sustainability and vitality of Franklin. I do want to add here at the very end on our last slide. Moving slow. This is my contact information. Oops. This is my email address and my telephone number. And if you have any comments or questions or need any additional information from me, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Let me respond to James. He's asked this a third time. We have no indication from the church. We've met with the church multiple times that they would not work with us. The church has constantly said they would work with us. What is in discussion is the sale of some property and how much. So we don't believe, and I'm not speaking for the church, I, as the developer, do not believe there's an issue with the access at Monticello for this development.
Bethany asks, what would a $275,000 affordable home, a 1-bedroom condo, or a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house? The affordable homes within this community are going to be really distributed across all of the different home types. And we'll be working very closely with Community Housing Partnership. There may be donations of the land and the infrastructure by the developer. There may be grants that are awarded for the affordable housing. So all of those things are kind of still in the works right now. But as far as putting definition on that is a 1-bedroom condo, we have not done that at this point. Haley is asking about any horse that may be buried on Brownland. We are respecting the burial of those horses. We're not disturbing or digging up or relocating or in those areas. Matter of fact, I think it'd be really neat to make that a feature of the park and maybe highlight it. Brian asks, will your paid private traffic study be made available to the public? Absolutely. Any documents that we submit to the City of Franklin are publicly available. Are there any final questions? The 20-acre park details. We know, or we've been in conversations with Monticello. Kevin and I would still like to talk with the property owners that are directly impacted, that front onto the park, want their input. We know that it's going to be passive. We're not planning to have a very active recreation park there, but open spaces where you can throw a Frisbee, throw a football, walking trails, landscape, would probably be the extent of the enhancements for the 20-acre park in front of Monticello.
And a replanting plan. Oh, you said landscape. Never mind, Greg.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time tonight. If you do have any additional questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to stay in touch and stay in contact with you all.